All right, so we're going to talk about factoring, and we're going to start with factoring what's called the greatest common factor, or what we generally say is just a GCF. And what a GCF is just what does each term have in common. Now you have to understand what I'm saying when I say term. When I say the word term, I'm looking at 10x squared as one term, and my other term is 35x cubed. So I have to look at each term. It's whatever's, you're using these pluses and minuses as the breaks. It's whatever's in between those pluses and minuses, that's going to be a term. All right, so I'm going to look at this one here. I'm going to say, let's factor the GCF, or the greatest common factor. So I'm going to look, and I've got 10x squared, that's one term, plus 35x cubed, that's my other term. So I have to look and see what's in common with both of these terms. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to see, do they have a number that's in common? So I have 10 and 35. So I'm going to have my GCF here. So I have 10 and 35, and I ask myself, what's the greatest number they have in common that they're both divisible by to get a perfect number out? Well, that's going to be 5, because 10 is divisible by 5, and 35 is divisible by 5, but there's not another fact that's going to be so great. So I know 5 is going to be part of my greatest common factor. Then I'm going to look at my x's, and I say, well, I've got an x squared, and what that really means is that it's x times x, and an x cubed. What that means is x times x times x. So what I actually have is I have two x's in common. So we would write that as x squared. All right. So here we have my greatest common factor is x squared. Now what do I do with this? Well, really what we're doing when we're factoring is we're undoing multiplication. In this case, with the greatest common factor, we're going to undo the distributive property. So it's really, if I'm undoing multiplication, I'm going to write it as multiplication. So I have 5x squared times something. Well, I can't change the equation. So if I want to multiply by this 5x squared, that means I have to divide both of these by 5x squared. So I have 10x squared divided by 5x squared plus 35x cubed over 5x squared. Okay, so from here, all we have to do is simplify our expression, and we are done factoring the greatest common factor. So I have my 5x squared. Well, let's write this what it actually means. This is 10 times x, that's what x squared is, over 5 times x, that's what x squared is, plus 35 times x over 5 times x. All right, so all we're going to do is reduce these fractions now. We're going to simplify. If I notice I have an x squared here, that goes away and this goes away. This one goes away and this one goes away. And then I ask myself, what's 10 divided by 5? So I'm going to write my greatest common factor here, 5x squared. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Then I'm going to look here. Well, I have an x that cancels here and here because they match up. An x that cancels here and an x that cancels here. They match up. So I know I'm going to have an x left in my answer. So I have my plus sign from here, plus. What is 35 divided by 5? Well, that's just 7, and I have an x left. And we are done. We have factored the greatest common factor. Hi, I'm Mr. Buzzard, and these videos are supplemental instruction for my students. If you found the video enjoyable, make sure you click the like button and click subscribe, as well as the bell for notifications to receive future videos on high school mathematics.